Good evening. Welcome to Issues at Hand, WBS TV. Peter Kiwazo, your host. Before I start the show, one of my guests says that we don't actually particularly invite the women to the show. They find their way to the show. But she's a guest here and a regular one at WBS. Nabila Nagai Sempala. Welcome, Nabila.
Now, Peter. Well,
that's a blackmail to ensure that,
that I don't talk about it. At least I'm thankful that I'm here this evening. I want to greet our viewers. Thanks for tuning in to WBS.
And alongside Honorable Nabila is one that I haven't hosted before. This one I must confess, Honorable Kabale from Iganga.
Yep.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, viewers. Nice being here for the first time.
Yes, welcome. And viewers, we will talk right from UWOPA, Uganda Women Parliamentary Association. I need to give them the plaudits because today they are here courtesy of UWOPA. I have had my quarrels with the women civil movement, political movement, and how somehow at some point it fizzled out and went into limbo. Possibly everything else in Uganda went into limbo that was activist. But the women movement, particularly what we used to popularly call the Kamwocha League, you had Akina Mama wa Africa, ISIS Week, FIDA, name them. There was a whole lane of women's organizations on that street, Kanjocha and Bokoto Street. They somehow all died. Either they achieved what they were aiming at, or they were selfish goals that they quickly attained. Some of them went to East African Legislative Assembly, some of them came to Parliament, some of them are big directors of NGOs around Kampala, and the core cause of the woman outside the elite community somehow fizzled out. The next level of them that I put my gun to are the Nabilas in Parliament. And Kabale. I mean, they sit in Parliament, they drive a monster ride around Kampala, and then what happens to the woman in Makindi?
Well, I think, Peter, you're being very unfair
to
the women's movement. Because like all life, there is an initial stage where the seeds have to be watered every day so that they sprout up. So when they sprout up, the phase, like in all movements, is to start the weeding. And you say, have you ever, as the women's movement, FIDA, all those, the ISIS Wiki, UWONET, Akina Mama Africa, they are still around.
Forward.
Yes, forward. They are still actually our partners as UWOPA. And what you're seeing today is some of their harvest. And I think you should celebrate some of their achievements. So we should not say that when women achieve,
I need to hear the but, because I don't know whether you agree with me that somehow they got off the radar.
No, they didn't get off the radar. What happened is that they are part and parcel of the Ugandan political, social, economic, and civic scene.
Maybe can I bring in the back? Because you find that as if by your comment, you said that some of them went to the East African Legislative Assembly, some of them went to Parliament. So it means
the bottom line, really, when you're looking at the balance sheet and you're looking at the bottom line.
They created another opportunity for other members, but the but comes in a sense that activism, advocacy, comes in at a time when there is an issue. For example, as Honorable Nabila said, still we have Forward at work, we have the UWOPA, which is the part of Parliament, and you find that that's where the women activists and some activists who are not women, but they have a heart for people like the children, like the women, channel their issues. So they are not in a limbo, but you find that sometimes they are commonly heard when there is a grave case like the recent torture of the child.
Wait a minute, let me ask you, before I even get into the grit of the laws and what we are discussing today, genuinely, from your heart, away from knowing that Forward has an address somewhere, FIDA has an address, you possibly don't even know where they are today.
No, they're in Tinder.
Okay.
Forward.
Yes. Yeah, but genuinely think about them 10 years ago, could be more, and today. do you feel them palpable in society? Would the woman in Karere, in Nabira's constituency, or in Namuongo get a problem and say, I have feeder to run?
Yes.
Like they did 20 years
Yes,
ago, 15
yes.
years ago.
Actually, those are reference points. Those are platforms that we keep visible on behalf of the women, and we don't tire to talk about it.
Are they still
Maybe
visible?
they don't make news anymore because people think they've been around, so they don't make news anymore. When they had just come, they were newsmakers. It was new, so people had to report about it. But now that they stayed around, maybe it's the media that needs to cover them more. I know for what it's involved in mentorship of young leaders.
Yeah.
They have alumni. They train even boys. Actually, it's no longer a forum for women democracy. Actually, youth have been mentored through UWOPA. They have every year, they have an internship for young leaders, university students. We know they're phasing out, they're recruiting more, and they're branching out to accommodate the changing environment, which is political parties, because previously, where most of this activism was had was before the advent of political parties. Maybe we should ask, what did political parties do to activism?
Maybe to supplement a bit.
To
regarding-
women activism, to
All activism, in general.
Maybe on the side of FIDA, you may not feel them here in Kampala, maybe, but I'm sure they are around and we know where they are stationed.
You really have to scratch the ground, don't you?
But then I would like to inform you that I always interact with the FIDA officials at district levels. They have even gone down.
I'll get to UWOPA straight now.
Yep.
And your cause in sitting in Parliament is to ensure, really your primary constituency is to ensure that the women's issues are brought to the table. While you represent all of us, because you're a district woman MP, not a women's MP.
Yes.
But at the back of your mind, part of that affirmative action was to ensure that if among 5, like in Nabira's constituency, there were none at all.
Among 8.
Oh, Kampala is 8?
8 constituencies.
Okay. If among 8, there were none at all that were women, which is actually true this time
Yep.
around, at least there will be one that will even out.
Yes.
Let me see in the legislative process, and particularly today, it's the penal code.
Yep.
Where is the prominence of the woman's issue, quote unquote? In penal code amendments, do we have issues that are particularly feminine, that you would say if we are amending the penal code on issues, let's say, on rape and defilement, and is there an issue there that is feminine?
I think
Rape is rape, whether you're a man or a woman or a girl or a boy. So does it have a female angle?
Thank you. I think that one is very pertinent because you find that the female angle of it is that the most vulnerable under such circumstances, sexual abuse, are the women. It's rare for the men. It's rare for the boys. But you find that...
On the contrary, I think that when the boys are abused, society has thought that they are not abused. It's not an issue that they will take. You'll be easily pushed off if a man went and said, Nabila slapped me in her home. Everyone will ask, but what is wrong with you? So you die quietly.
Yeah, you find that something always becomes an issue when the magnitude of its intensity is high. So in this situation, you find that for over a period of 10 to 15 years, even during the war times like in the northern Uganda, aspects of women being tortured sexually or sexual abused is higher than compared to the men in most of the aspects, be it at home, be it with relatives. So you find that an issue becomes an issue of concern when you find that the level, the percentage of people who are affected is really bigger. But you find that in our situation, much as you are saying that the men have the capacity to defend themselves. But look at this girl who is a dependent or who is staying with an uncle or who is staying with in a community because of a war situation and is raped. The vulnerability level is what makes us as women advocate for the women, because you find that they are really, they have nowhere to go, nowhere to address their issues. And even in court, you find that some of the issues take long. They take long, and
Is it an exception? I mean, the courts in Uganda, whether it is land, women's issues, border, a few political cases will be streamrolled and they come through very quick. But are there other issues that come any faster?
You know, I can say that when you mainstream the court and justice system,
Yep.
we are all victims as Ugandans when the justice system is slow.
Yep.
Justice delayed is justice denied.
Yes.
However, if it's about land, I'll also be affected as a woman.
So
If
will
it's
I.
about, yes, but on top of all the other normal things that are usually court cases, it's an addition. Domestic violence, rape, sexual offenses are an addition. And they impact on the women's productivity, they impact on our social well-being, and that is why we say usually they're a by the way. So instead of being the by the way, we mainstream them and say they are issues to be looked at. As much as we look at land, let's look at the sexual related offenses.
How many members does UWOPA have in the current parliament?
Wow, I think we are over 140
Yeah.
because we have male colleagues.
Yes.
I want to say, by the way, Peter, that you should celebrate UWOPA.
Yeah.
It's the strongest lobby in
Okay.
Parliament.
I need to see this, and I'm coming to that.
Yes.
That's why I'm asking about the number game.
Yes.
If you have excess of 130
Yeah.
as a bloc in Parliament,
Yeah.
you could be possibly second strongest out of the NRM.
No, I'll just say it is the strongest lobby. You know why? Because it enjoys bipartisan
Yes.
support.
Good.
And we rarely look at political lenses when we are advocating.
Yes.
So I can say it's the strongest lobby, bipartisan, because it has the strength of both the opposition and government and independence across board.
When I look at the numbers out of police reports, I'll use the one last year. You have a rise in sexual-related cases, especially defilement, massive. You have a rise in rape. Today I was talking land with some people, and someone was saying that the law on land is horrible against women that till the land. And we were with Honorable Margaret Seg. And she was saying, what is amazing is you have such a large number of women members of Parliament. And she's asking, where are they for this common woman? And that's the question I'm asking. The figures I have here, extracted by UWOPA itself, indicate everything green, 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 green. And I'm asking, okay, then what? Where is the value of my having Kabale and Nabila in this parliament with their massive lobby if everything still returns painfully grim?
Peter, I think even highlighting is an achievement. Talking about something is diagnosis. People die in hospitals for wrong diagnosis, for not having the right diagnosis. What we are doing is we are lending the diagnostic eye to the issues in our society. And that's the first step. The second step is for us to say, what are the laws? Are there gaps? And if there are gaps, that's why we're coming with the amendments to the penal code.
Give me a specific amendment that you think this one is a matter of life and death for the women community in this country.
One, protection for minors when they're living with people of authority or relatives. You have a guardian and you're an uncle. Actually, you're talking about, we know that there is rise in abuse of even boys. However, it is rare that an auntie will abuse a nephew.
Not
But
sure about that.
it is rare. I say it's
Okay.
never, but I say it's rare. It is rare that you'll find a mother abusing a son sexually. But it is common, and I think for me, what we need to look at and why we are highlighting these issues is that the veil needs to be lifted.
Do we have a problem with the law, you
Maybe,
think?
The
yes,
veil.
we do.
Because think about it this way. I have looked at the law.
Yes.
The sexual offenses, I think it is 2000, and the amendment of the Penal Code is 2007, if I'm not
Yeah.
wrong. It is one of the toughest laws written in this land against those in authority, be it a guardian, be it a parent, be it a teacher, anyone with authority over a minor. If they abuse them, it is 7, 12, life. And it is very explicit. It deals with abuse against the order of nature. It deals with rape. It deals with all manner of sexual offenses. That's Penal Code Act, I think, Amendment 2007, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, as a law, it has teeth. It could be fangs of a snake. That poisonous. So what would I amend about it? Why
Implementation.
hasn't it worked?
Implementation.
Implementation.
Now, possibly you were talking of the relevance or where the women as a block and plus the men who are in members of UWOPA, what impact do they give? I think particularly here, because we have come for the sexual offences bill, but you find that regarding land, there has been the implementation and the existence now of the land policy, which can help interpret and help the Ministry of Lands to operationalize issues of land, which was not there.
I'll possibly come back to
Yes,
that.
but
Because
now-
for me, I'm an impacts person.
Yeah,
When I pick a
particularly-
bank statement, when
Yes.
I pick a balance sheet, before I look at the top of it, I look at the bottom.
Yeah.
Bottom.
Particularly for this, as we are saying, the reason why we must come up as UWOPA regarding sexual offences, you find that, like, for example, in 2013, of the 23,000 cases, only 889 were prosecuted. So you find that the biggest percentage were left in dilemma. That's why we are saying there is a problem with our justice system. And they say justice...
Hold on, Honorable Kabale there,
Yes.
because I need to understand that. Is it the law that had a problem? Or is it the prosecution system that was defective?
Now, the reason why we said the law has a problem is because you know very well that in law they say prove beyond reasonable doubt. And sometimes these are issues dealing with the minor. And that's why we want to identify certain situations. Because in the law, they talk of rape. They forget to talk about gang rape. I think recently you heard there are Pakistanis who raped.
Gang rape and rape is still rape.
No.
Yeah, but then...
That
when you-
is more aggravated
aggravated
rape.
rape. Yeah.
When 20 people rape one person, definitely the impact on the body of the woman is not the same
Yeah.
as when she's raped by one person. So we need to take into consideration that, like you say, how mass murder and murder,
Yeah.
they're separate.
Okay, hold on, Honorable Nabila. What are we dealing with here? Is it what punishment they finally receive, or whether even that case is prosecuted at all?
What we're saying is, whenever we come out, we make laws in Parliament.
Yes.
But we have the obligation to follow up
Whether they are...
whether the laws we make in Parliament are having an effect on the
Yes.
community. So it is a process of saying we've made the law, we observe, we listen, we watch, and when it comes back to us, we ask the implementing agencies, what's wrong? Why aren't you using the law? Actually, the feedback that you see in the amendments usually comes back from the implementation agencies.
Yes.
Police. They tell us, okay, there is a gap here.
Yeah, yeah.
When we arrest, this happens. You need to correct this.
For example, I can give an example to what Honorable Nabila is saying. For example, there are levels where a minor may not give sustainable evidence.
Yes.
So a case might be discarded because the person who is a minor might be doubted. So we want to define all those things and even show that even if I'm a minor and I have a case in court, I can be listened to. But in most cases, they say the minor must come with the guardian, which guardian in some situations might be the criminal. So that is now the dilemma.
The other issue would be about protection. A woman reports
Yeah.
maybe aggravated rape. maybe from a neighbor, maybe from a relative. And this woman, after reporting, has to go back home.
Yes.
To the person she has reported to police. So what happens to that case? Either the woman is handled at home when she goes back, and when they wait for her to come back for hearing, she doesn't appear. So we are saying some of the victims need to get shelters.
Yeah.
So that's why we're following up to that. You can't be reporting, even when it comes to domestic violence, a husband who will kill you, you fear for your life, you go to police, but in the evening after the reporting, you have to go back home.
After making the statement.
Of course, there is a bit of stereotyping there, Honorable Abida, that it is only the husband that will kill you.
Well, we want also to appeal. By the way, Peter,
Yeah.
let me look straight to the TV, to our viewers.
Yeah.
If there are men out there who are being harassed, who are being abused by their wives, please come out. Get out of the closet, go and report your cases to police.
Maybe to give you information, I've been getting information from northern region that it's mostly the men, the women who are torturing the men, and the men go to police. So they are
coming up
fully
also.
using their rights. Maybe we could tell our viewers.
But you talk about shelters,
Yes.
and I'm thinking, I have looked at children abused by their mothers, by their parents, any parent of any sort have abused these children. And I look at the parent taken up by the police. The parent has been arrested, taken into custody. And the next question I ask is, so what is the police going to do with this child?
Yeah. We are saying, Peter, I was talking to you about lifting the veil. We need to lift the veil from the stereotype of the good African society.
Yeah.
It's no longer with us, unfortunately. The veil has been lifted. Let's also lift our focus. We are assuming about community. Our sense of community has shifted and has changed over the years. Urbanization has happened. Migrations have happened. Intercultural, cross-cultural, cross-continental, cross-country marriages, intermarriages have blended these cultures. So to define them under cultural, communal laws is no longer applicable. So we need to have laws that are national for a republic that will govern our societal relations.
Maybe
You still, while I agree with the cosmopolitan collection that you talk about,
Yes.
I still need to see what would you do as a state to the abused minors. Would you set up, because we have a remand home
In
for
Aguru.
child
Offenders.
delinquents, as it were. We had a rehabilitation center in
Kampilingisa.
Yes.
that is derelict now. I don't think that the remand home is any better in
Yeah.
Naguru. But then, for the child that is not delinquent, for the child that is not an offender, what do I do with them? For the woman that is squeezed, for the man that can't go home because they are afraid their wife may come with an axe over their head, do you create a shelter for them? Who funds this? Where do you put it? How many would you accommodate? Does it look like an IDP of some form? I still need to get it in my head.
Now, Peter, what I can say is, why am I saying
Let me take a break and then you'll come and have a little more time to explain this. David, I see your message. David and the others that are sending in messages will be able to take these and respond to a few of them after the break. Simon Segane, okay. Simon Segane feels good that the show today has a bit more positive look because you've only hosted the women folk, and he says beautiful ones. Okay, Simon, that is a very subjective perspective. I'm sure even when we have the men, the show has life, but we'll take the break and come back.
Thank you, Simon.
Thank you, Simon.
Okay. Simon is very subjective.